Hi, all. Thank you for joining, and my apologies for the issues with the technology. Hopefully, everybody's joined okay. So we've got quorum whenever you're ready to begin.
Thank you for that. I'm just going to try then, and I don't know what's happened to my agenda. It has disappeared. There we go. I've got it. All right. We can call the meeting to order. It's 4:31. Everybody can hear me okay? Can everybody hear me? Oh, great. Thank you very much. All right. So the next item, it's going to be a really long one today. I hope everybody's got a cup of tea. Number 2 is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any disclosures? Going once, going twice? Okay, we're good. The next one is to approve the agenda. If we can have a mover and seconder that today's agenda be approved. Stacy is the mover and Deputy Mayor Manili is the seconder. Great. Next is the approval of minutes for the last meeting. If we can have a mover and seconder. Okay. Okay. There we go. We got Sam and we got Stacy, I believe. So we'll move into the staff reports. The first one is application D13 MIS 26. If we can have a presentation on that, please.
All right, I will be presenting the first application. I apologize for my camera not working. We've been having some technical difficulties, so you'll just be hearing me. All right, so for the first minor variance application, it is for D13 MIS 26. It is for 341 Wilson Street. The applicant is requesting relief to permit the construction of a storage and maintenance building and to permit an existing storage and maintenance building with legal non-complying setbacks from the front lot line and the county road center line. Table 6.1A sub 5 requires that a maximum height of an accessory building is 6 meters, whereas the requested variance is 6.7 meters. Also in that same table, but sub 7, the maximum number of accessory buildings, that requirement is 3, but they are asking for 4. The minimum setback of permanent non-residential buildings to the center line of a county road, the requirement is 45 meters, and they are asking for 22 meters. And the minimum front yard setback in an open space zone, the requirement is 7.5 meters, and they're asking for 7.3 meters. The subject property is locally referred to as the Mississippi Golf Course. It is around 82 hectares in size, with a waterfront along the Mississippi River. Several areas on the property do consist of wetlands and floodplains. However, the proposed development is not within any wetlands or floodplains. It is in the open space. And the village of Appleton is to the north of it. As mentioned, it is zoned open space. And because of the environmental hazards, it is also partly zoned environmental hazard and environmental protection. This is along the floodplain section of the property. And just to give an idea of the existing site, picture number 1 is of the entrance of that of this location. The second image is the current existing building that will remain on the property. And images 3 and 4 are depicting buildings that are set or that will be demolished and will be replaced with a larger storage building as well. And this gives a better idea of the proposed construction. As I said, the second building, or building 2 on the site plan, that will remain on the property, whereas building 1 will be constructed in the place of the 8 existing buildings. The square footage of the proposed building will be around 780 square meters. Again, it'll be 6.7 meters in height, but it will not be connected to a well or septic. We received no comments from agencies other than Lanark County, where the county public works staff did note that an entrance permit is required due to the alteration of the entrance. That is for the widening of it. In order for a minor variance application to be approved, it must meet the 4 tests. Staff are of the opinion that this minor variance application does meet the 4 tests for evaluating a minor variance. Here are our staff recommendations and conditions, and that concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody on the committee? Do you have any questions or any comments that you might want to raise? And I might not see your hand, so if I can get help with that, if there are hands raised.
Rick has his up.
Okay, go ahead.
Just one thing, the Mississippi Golf Course is a commercial property and we're holding them to the residential side of like if you have a farm, you got more than 2 outbuildings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a comment. So I'm in favor of this, and they are tearing down other buildings to make the site look really good. So I'm okay with it. It's just that I think that if it's a commercial building, they should be allowed 4 outbuildings or 5 outbuildings.
And it should actually be the where the entrance is actually 345. That's the street address at where the entrance to that building is.
Can I ask staff for clarification as to the standards that the application is being held against? Go ahead, Drew.
Through the chair, so I will confirm that table 6.1a does contemplate all various zones under the zoning bylaw. So specifically, it does have a column for open space zones, which is applicable for this property. With that being said, a lot of the standards are duplicates of other columns. So it is correct that the number of permitted accessory buildings is the same as, say, a rural residential zone. However, that is as it's currently contemplated in the zoning bylaw. And a municipally initiated zoning bylaw amendment would be required to adjust that standard requirement in the open space zone.
Okay, can you clarify that for my edification then? So we are considering them under the rural residential zone because to avoid as rezoning. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, through the chair. So the property is zoned open space special exception 2. Table 6.1a does have a specific column for the OS zone, and the number of permitted accessory buildings, I believe, is 3. It just so happens that that same standard applies for a rural residential zone per a different column in the table.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the committee? No. Is there anybody representing the applicant who might want to speak, add anything, or correct anything? Go ahead. Is this Simon who's asking? Go ahead, Simon.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're still muted, Simon. If your mic isn't working, perhaps do you want to write something in the chat? You can go to the More button, and under More, there is a drop-down item for chat, and you could type in your comments if the mic is not working for you. Question, Jennifer, as the meeting organizer, is there any way you can unmute us?
I was just looking at that, Chair, and I can allow a mic and a camera to be used, but it doesn't seem as though I can unmute. Sorry, allow the microphone.
Okay, thanks for looking
and I'll
into
also,
it.
yeah, I'll also mention the chat function has been removed from the meeting.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that.
I'll see if there's anything else I can do while we wait.
Simon, does your camera work? Is there a way, like, we can at least, you can nod or signal if you still want to ask your question, or if you're okay, thumbs up or thumbs down with regards to what has been presented? Okay, I see the hand up.
Hi, Chair. I did find a way to speak directly with Simon, and I've sent
Okay.
him a message, so hold tight. He said, I can't unmute.
Okay, fair enough. Is there any way he can express himself via writing to you?
Yeah, Simon, if you want to include your comments in this texting, I can report back to the committee. Simon has said, I just wanted to express that we are indeed improve the situation.
Okay, got it. Got it. Yeah, we recognize that you are, and you can text back to Jennifer. We recognize that you're taking a collection of outbuildings and replacing them with one single but larger outbuilding, and that will make your function and the functioning of the site more efficient. Is that correct? Have we understood this more correctly?
He has responded, they'll make sure to follow all permit and bylaws as needed, and that, Chair, you are correct, collection of buildings into one building.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that you think we may have missed or that you'd like to express to us?
Future-proofing use with larger and taller building.
Future-proofing use.
To allow for, yeah, sorry, to allow for future mezzanine if required within the space.
Okay, and staff are aware of this potential future use, and we're okay. Thank you. If that's everything, Simon, I really want to extend my thanks for your patience and understanding. We're trying out a new system and new technology, and yes, there have been glitches. So thank you very much for your patience with this. And if you're satisfied with this, we can go to asking for a decision and opinions of the committee. If you're okay with this, at this time, you've been heard. You believe.
Yeah, he's responded with that is all yes, and yes, all good.
Good, thank you. Okay,
thank you, Chair. Thanks, Simon.
Yes, thank you, everybody. We'll get there. We'll get there. So what we're going to do is read out the recommended motions. If we can get that back on the screen in case it's been modified at all from the report. So the recommendation and conditions are that the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application affecting the subject lands, which are legally described as Ramsey Concession 9, part of lots 2 to 4, Part 1 on Reference Plan 26R995, Part 1 on Reference Plan 26R2133, Ramsey Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills, municipally known as 341 Wilson Street, to construct an accessory building and permit an existing legal non-complying accessory building subject to the following conditions. 1, that the following requested minor variances to zoning bylaw 11-83 are approved. Bullet point 1, to permit an accessory building identified as building 1 on attachment A with a height of 6.7 meters, whereas table 6.1A subsection 5 of the planning and zoning bylaw permits a maximum height of 6.0 meters. Bullet number 2, to permit 4 accessory buildings, whereas table 6.1A subsection 7 of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum of 3 accessory buildings. Sub-bullet 3, to permit accessory buildings identified as building 1 and building 2 on attachment A to be set back 22 meters from the center line of a county road, whereas section 6.27 subsection 1 subsection B of the zoning bylaw requires permanent non-residential buildings to be set back a minimum of 45 meters from the center line of country road. And the final sub-bullet, to permit an existing accessory building identified as building 2 on attachment A with a front yard setback of 7.3 meters, whereas table 33.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 7.5 meters. And condition number 2, that the owners obtain all required building permits and approvals within 2 years of the decision coming into full force and effect. Can we have a vote on this? Everybody in favor, raise your hands. Okay, I can't see Stacy or Sam's, but I'm assuming we're good. We good? Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on.
Hi, Chair. Sorry to
Hi.
interrupt.
Oh, sorry.
Could we get a mover and seconder for that
I'm sorry.
motion?
Excuse me. I thought I had asked for that. So can we have someone to move and someone to second? Deputy Mayor Manelli, and I can't see.
And Stacy Blair's also got her hand up.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
So let's go to the next one. Application D13 BEC 26, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. Just give me 1 second and I'll share my screen. And if someone wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up just to confirm that they can see my screen and can hear me. Perfect. Thank you so much. My first application tonight is D13-BEC-26, and the subject property is 2030 Ramsey Concession 12. The applicant is seeking relief from the zoning bylaw to permit the development of a ARU or an additional residential unit. Specifically, whereas section 816 sub 3 sub D of the zoning bylaw permits a maximum gross floor area or GFA of an ARU to be no more than 40% of a principal dwelling. The applicant is proposing an ARU that is 98% the GFA of a principal dwelling. Here we can see the subject property on the screen outlined in blue. To preference, our mapping is not accurate in terms of where the property lines are. This blue rectangle should be shifted to the northwest to more align with the outbuildings that we can see associated with the primary dwelling. The subject property itself is approximately 1 hectare in size, just north of that. It has approximately 61 meters of frontage along Ramsey Concession 12, features a primary dwelling as well as accessory storage buildings such as a garage and outbuildings. It is designated rural under the community official plan and zoned rural or RU in the zoning bylaw. The applicant is proposing to develop an ARU that's approximately 190 square meters in size. Just looking to the site plan shown on the right of the screen, we can see the ARU denoted as an addition with a garage attaching the ARU with the existing residence. Based on our conversations with the applicant, is our understanding that this development is proposed in phases, wherein the ARU would be developed in the short term, with the garage potentially developed in the future. With that understanding, staff have assessed the ARU as if it was detached as opposed to attached to the primary dwelling. The ARU is proposed to share the existing well with the primary dwelling in accordance with the zoning bylaw. We did do a technical circulation of this application in accordance with the requirements of the Act. The chief building official noted that given the discrepancy in our mapping, as well as surveys that we do have available to us, a surveyor's real property report will be required as a part of any future building permits, regardless if committee approves the variance or not. Should also note that a portion of the subject property is subject to a life science area of natural and scientific interest overlay. We can see that on the screen just outlined in pink. Staff did fail to identify this during our pre-consultation with the applicant. Where that's important is the community official plan identifies that any development within 120 meters of this pink area be subject to review via an environmental impact study, just to demonstrate that no negative impacts to the ANSI shall take place. So although the development is proposed further than existing development on the subject property, an EIS or equivalent is still required to demonstrate that there won't be any negative impacts on the ANSI. And as such, should the committee support the application, we're recommending that the submission of an EIS or equivalent be submitted as a condition of approval. As with all variances, staff are required to assess the proposal in accordance with the 4 tests outlined in the Planning Act. We are of the opinion that the development does pass all 4 tests, and in accordance with that, are recommending approval in line with the recommendation shown on the screen. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Drew. And as usual, I'll be asking you to put that slide back on after our discussion. The committee members, any of you, do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make? Okay, Deputy Mayor Manili.
Just when they do the ARU, I know there's quite a discrepancy in the size. After it's built, can they switch one to the other, the ARU to the primary residence?
Go ahead, Drew.
So through the chair, under the zoning bylaw, the primary dwelling is considered whichever dwelling is larger out of the 2. So in this case, although they are very similar in size as proposed, what's being proposed is slightly smaller than what's existing. So it would be considered the ARU with the existing being the principal.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to go to whoever's representing the applicant. Are there any questions or concerns or corrections you feel you need to make for the presentation of the recommendations? No? Okay. Sorry, got dog hair. If somebody could put the screen back on. Oh, go ahead, Connie. Sorry.
Okay, I just wonder, what is the square footage of the primary residence?
Apologies, I might just have to scoot back in my presentation. The primary dwelling is 194 square meters, whereas the proposed ARU is 190 square meters. I'll just preference as well that is gross floor area as opposed to footprint.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Sam.
I have to go home and convert that to square feet.
Thank you,
It's
Chair.
39 inches, I know that.
I know.
Just to clarify, and this may be premature, but were any potential variances identified if they proceed with the ultimate development plans of providing the connected garage? Is there any concern about that proposal, or would this address the non-compliance? Thank you.
Yeah,
Through the chair, we did do an assessment based on if the garage was constructed. There would not be any issues from a zoning perspective. However, I think most of the analysis would be done at building permit submission as to how those buildings will interface with one another to create one overall building, especially if it is phased. So I believe there will be some considerations at that point. However, the ultimate development would be zoning compliant.
Thank you, both of you. Any other questions? Okay. Back to my offer to a representative of the applicant or the applicant themselves. Are there any questions or concerns? Okay, failing that, I'm going to read out the staff recommendation and conditions. That the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application affecting the subject lands, which are legally described as Concession 12, West part of Lot 16, Part 3 of Reference Plan 26R-1163, Ramsey Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills, municipally known as 2030 Ramsey Concession 12, to permit the development of a detached additional residential unit subject to the following conditions. 1, that the following requested minor variance to zoning bylaw 11-83 is approved, sub-bullet 1, to permit a detached additional residential unit that is 98% the gross floor area of the primary dwelling, whereas section 8.16 subsection 3 subsection D of the zoning bylaw 11-83 requires an additional residential unit to be no more than 40% of the gross floor area of the principal dwelling unit. Condition number 2, that the owners obtain an environmental impact study or brief demonstrating that the proposed development will not have any negative impacts on the adjacent life science area of natural and scientific interest to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services and Engineering. Condition number 3, that the owners enter into a development agreement to be registered on title implementing any mitigative measures recommended by the environmental impact study or brief to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services and Engineering. And condition number 4, that the owners obtain all required building permits and approvals within 2 years of the decision coming into full force and effect. So all in favor, if you can show this, and if somebody else who can see can make a count, I believe we're good. Okay, if we can have a mover and a seconder for this, please. Go ahead, Stacy is moving and Deputy Mayor Manili is seconding. Did I say that twice? Sorry, I'm sleep deprived. I'm commuting into and out of Ottawa, guys, which means a 5 o'clock morning. All right, well, some of you are probably coming the other direction, so you got what I'm going through. Anyway, if we can move to the next application, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will just share my screen again. And if someone wouldn't mind, give me a thumbs up just to confirm that they can see my screen and can hear me. Perfect, thank you so much. The next application is D13-WAL-26, and the subject property is 92 James Naismith Way. The applicant is requesting relief from the zoning bylaw to permit the development of a detached dwelling on the subject property, specifically whereas section 12.3.19 sub 3 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback to the crest of slope of 15 meters, the applicant is requesting 6 meters. Here we can see the subject property outlined in blue on the screen. It is an irregular shaped lot, approximately 1.52 hectares in size, with approximately 9.17 meters of frontage onto James Naismith Way, specifically the private portion of the property. We can see it is bordered by an unopened road allowance to the south and the Mississippi River to the north. Otherwise, it is generally surrounded by low density rural residential uses. The property is currently vacant. It is split designated both rural and floodplain, and similarly split zoned rural special exception 19 and environmental hazard. And just to give committee greater information, we can see the floodplain denoted in this light blue line on the image going across the property. All areas north of that, denoted in purple, are the floodplain portion of the property. So that's where the designation coincides, as well as the environmental hazard zone on the property. The remainder of the property south towards the road is RU19 under the zoning bylaw. For some history, the subject property was created in 2006 from a larger parent parcel that included both 94 and 95 James Naismith Way. We can see those just to the left of the property. At the time, the MVCA raised no concerns with the proposed severances, subject to conditions being met by the applicant. Specifically, prior to development, a survey was requested to outline 3 different measures, specifically a 2-meter erosion allowance plus a stable slope allowance of 3 times the height of the slope plus a 6-meter erosion access, a 15-meter setback from the crest of slope and 50 meters from the high water mark. And that is all in response to the slope of the property. So the MVCA regulated area that we can see in light purple recognizes hazardous lands under the PPS. And as such, any development within that purple area is subject to an MVCA permit. So although they didn't raise concerns at the time, they did recommend that these setbacks be implemented for any future development. And that was carried through a subsequent zoning bylaw amendment as a condition of severance to enact the RU19 zone. So the RU19 zone does permit residential uses. However, these 3 measures are applied in terms of setback requirements, specifically whichever is greatest of the 3. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 238 square meter dwelling with an attached 72 square meter attached garage. We can just see that on the site plan on the right here. Based on a slope stability assessment that was provided in support of the proposed development, I'm just going to switch back to my screen here. The first measure, specifically the 2-meter erosion allowance plus a stable slope allowance of 3 times the height of the slope plus a 6-meter erosion access, was determined to be a 38-meter setback from the toe of the riverbank, and then 15-meter from the crest of slope and 50-meter from the high water mark. As shown on the site plan on the right, the 38-meter setback from the toe of the riverbank is met. The setback from the 50-meter high water mark is met. However, a 6-meter setback from the crest of slope is being proposed as a part of this development. Now, the slope stability assessment also did provide an analysis of the applicable erosion hazard limit. The erosion hazard limit is specifically the safe setback from an unstable slope. In this case, it was identified to only be 14 meters from the toe of the riverbank. The proposed dwelling itself is approximately 73 meters from the toe. And as I previously stated before, as the proposed dwelling partially lies within the regulated area, a permit from the MVCA is required as a part of this development in excess of this minor variance application. We did do our technical circulation of the application to commenting agencies, the MVCA being one of those. They did confirm that a permit is required for this. They did not raise any concerns with the proposed setback of 6 meters to the crest of the slope, provided that mitigation measures are implemented. These are the same mitigation measures that would be required through the MVCA permit. Notwithstanding, should committee be supportive of the application, we are also recommending that they be a condition of the minor variance approval. As with all minor variances, there are 4 tests that we must evaluate the application under in accordance with the Act. Staff have done so and are of the opinion that the development meets all 4 tests. In accordance, we're recommending approval in line with the recommendation shown on the screen. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open it again to committee members if they have any questions or comments or concerns that they'd like to raise. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Manili.
Yes, I was just wondering if, seeing it's being set back on the slope, if there was any consideration when the building permit was issued to beef the basement up. Because That's the part that holds the house.
Go ahead, Drew.
So
Through the chair, we have yet to receive a building permit application for this proposed development. My understanding is that would come following any approvals from committee. With that being said, there are specific recommendations within the slope stability assessment pertaining to building design that would be required to be followed through on the ultimate design. And I do see that the applicant is in the meeting and has raised their hand, so maybe they can provide additional context.
perfect, thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Walker.
Can everyone hear me? Thank
Yep.
you. So at this time, oh, and you know what? I can pop my little face on. So at this time, like Drew said, we have not continued with the building permits because of this. First, we wanted to get our variance request settled by council before we proceeded in that manner. We will not be building a basement on this dwelling. It's going to be a single-story dwelling. However, we are working with an engineering firm to make sure that the foundation is adequate enough in the footings of the foundation and the rest of the foundation to ensure that there will be no impact on the stable slope whatsoever.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? No? Ms. Walker, is there anything else that you might want to add? Go ahead if you do.
I don't think so. Thank you very much for the opportunity, but Drew covered everything. We've been working with him closely. So many thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much. So Drew, if you could put the recommendations back on screen. That the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application affecting the subject lands, which are legally described as Ramsey Concession 9, part of Lot 21, Part 9 of Reference Plan 27-R8748, Ramsey Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills, municipally known as 92 James Naismith Way, to permit the construction of a detached dwelling subject to the following conditions. 1, that the following requested minor variance to zoning bylaw 11-83 is approved, sub-bullet, to permit a reduced setback of 6.0 meters to the crest of slope, whereas condition 12.3.19 subsection 3 of zoning bylaw 11-83 requires a minimum setback of 15 meters from the crest of the slope in the RU19 zone. Condition number 2, that the owners obtain all required building permits, MVCA permits, and approvals within 2 years of the decision coming into full force and effect. And condition number 3, that the owners follow the mitigation measures recommended by the MVCA to minimize the potential for erosion impacts as described in attachment D. Can we have a vote on this recommendation? Okay, I'm assuming it's carried. So if we can have a mover and a seconder now. I see Stacy as a mover and Connie as a seconder. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
See the water. You can't see the water in any.
Okay, we can move to the next application, please.
Thank you, Chair. Again, if someone wouldn't mind confirming that they can see my screen and can hear me clearly, that'd be great. Thank you so much. The next application is D13-M00-26, and the subject properties are 127 and 129 Adelaide Street. The applicant is requesting relief from the zoning bylaw to accommodate the development of a semi-detached dwelling on the subject property. That would include 4 additional residential units, so specifically 2 ARUs per primary dwelling unit within the overall semi for a total of 6 units. So specifically, the applicant is requesting relief from section 6.27 sub 1 sub A, which says that the minimum setback from the center line of a county road is 30 meters. They are specifically requesting 12 meters. Section 9.3.9 sub D, which says that the minimum setback of a driveway to the intersection of 2 public streets shall be 7 meters. They are requesting 6 meters. And table 14.2A, which says that the minimum exterior side yard setback of a semi-detached dwelling in the R2 zone shall be 6 meters. They are requesting 2 meters. For additional context for the committee, this larger property, 127 Martin Street, was given conditional approval of 2 consent applications proposing the creation of 2 additional separate lots from the property. Here we can see the reference plan on the right that was prepared in association with those applications. The subject property for this application is specifically part 1 of the reference plan that's outlined in blue. I will note that consent has not been formally given at this point, merely conditional consent, or there are a number of conditions that the applicant must satisfy before the lot is formally created. With that being said, a minor variance is not one of those conditions, given that the proposed lot would meet lot area requirements and lot frontage requirements of the R2 zone. Here we can see the subject property, an aerial of it, outlined in blue. When it is formally created, it will be approximately 1,100 square meters in size, with approximately 26 meters of frontage along Adelaide Street. It's currently vacant. It's generally surrounded by similar low-density residential uses. It is designated residential in the community official plan and zoned R2 in the zoning bylaw. Here are some site photos that were taken for committee's benefit. I do want to draw your attention to pictures 2 and 4, as they will be relevant later on in the conversation. So image number 2 gives us an image of the drain or trench next to the Martin Street road platform. So the property line itself is not within this area, but to the left, or pardon me, to the right. So there's an extended distance between the property line and the actual road platform of Martin Street. Image number 4 shows us one of the survey stakes that were placed in support of the reference plan. What I wanted to note here is just the proximity of the adjacent dwelling just north of the subject property relative to that stake with regards to setbacks, as it is currently in a legal non-complying status. Here we can see the proposed site plan on the right. Going back to the previous meeting, committee will recall that this application was deferred based on a technical comment that we received from a commenting agency. That agency was Ottawa River Power Corporation with regards to their infrastructure on Adelaide Street. The initial concept for the proposed development included a slightly enlarged driveway along Adelaide, which had a perceived conflict with a hydro pole, and specifically an anchor wire that comes off of that pole to give stability to the pole. So our ORPC does have certain standards with regards to driveways in relation to these poles to ensure that they're not damaged in the future, especially during the winter months when there's large accumulations of snow, and snow storage may occur in places that weren't intended to do so. So for the initial submission, ORPC did raise concerns with the proximity of the driveway. The applicant did take that back and did revise that proposal to propose this more narrow driveway that has a further setback from the anchor wire. So specifically, it does provide 1 meter from the driveway, which ORPC has confirmed to be sufficient in this case. Going back to the overall development itself, as I previously said, it is proposed to be a semi-detached dwelling with a total of 4 ARUs, 2 on each side. The size of the ARUs themselves would be compliant with the zoning bylaw, as they would all be 40% of the principal dwelling unit. So we did do a technical circulation of this application. We did receive several comments from the public. One member of the public, specifically the neighbor to the north, did have several questions of clarification with regards to the overall development. However, they didn't provide a position of support or opposition to the minor variance. They're more so just looking for more information. And I will say for the applicant's benefit that they did take the opportunity to reach out to that neighbor to discuss their overall plans and make sure there is coordination with them for the future development. Another member of the public, not within the the statutory circulation area, did encourage staff to consider the sight lines associated with the proposed development, as Martin Street North does have an upwards grade towards the development, and they noted that speed limits are not always adhered to by members of the public. So they did want us to have some consideration as to how sightlines might be affected by the proposed development. I will note for committee that section 6.4.1 of the zoning bylaw does specifically contemplate sight triangles, specifically that no development, be it buildings or driveways, shall be within 6 meters of the intersection of two lot lines of a corner lot. In this case, no development is being proposed within that 6-meter site triangle, so staff are of the opinion that sight lines will not be compromised as a result of this development. We also did circulate the application internally. Our Roads and Public Works Department confirmed that they had no concerns regarding this proposed setback of the driveway to the intersection of the two streets. Similarly, Lanark County confirmed that they had no concerns with the proposed reduced setback to the center line of Martin Street being a county road. And again, ORPC confirmed that they had no concerns with the revised proposal with regards to their infrastructure. I will note, however, that they did want us to provide a guideline for committee's future reference with regards to development in proximity to overhead infrastructure. So specifically clearance distances that are required for buildings to overhead electrical infrastructure, depending on the voltage of those lines. So that's been attached to this report and is available for committee's reference for future applications. As with all minor variances, we assess the application in accordance with the 4 tests outlined in the Planning Act, or in the opinion that it does indeed meet those tests. In accordance, we are recommending approval in line with the recommendation shown on the screen. And I will just note that this one is a 2-parter, so there are 4 overall recommendations associated. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Drew. Very comprehensive and easy to understand, and I appreciate that. I'm going to go to the committee and see if there's any. Go ahead, Connie.
Drew, where is the primary residence for these 4 ARUs?
Through the chair, we would consider whichever of the units to be the largest to be the primary dwelling. So in this case, it's traditionally the ground floor, but it could potentially be the below grade or 2nd story ARU.
So there will be 3 dwellings in each of those units.
That's correct. So over a semi on both sides, it'd be a total of 6 dwelling units in the overall development.
Okay, and as you said, the largest one on each of those sides will be the primary one, and the other 2 will be the 2 ARUs. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Connie, for that question. Any other questions or concerns in the committee? No? Okay, is there anybody here today who's representing the applicant who might want to speak to this? No? Okay, if not, if we can go to the recommendations then, Drew.
One other question.
Oh, go ahead, Connie, go ahead.
Okay, Drew, where's the parking on this diagram?
Through the chair, I'm just going to share my screen again so everyone can see while I'm going through it. Just give me 1 second here. So the proposed development includes 2 driveways. The interpretation here is that a semi-detached on 2 conveyable parcels would be able to have 2 driveways. So staff's interpretation is that although it is on a single conveyable lot, 2 driveways meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. Under the zoning bylaw, a semi-detached dwelling with 2 ARUs is required to provide 1 parking space for each unit. So in this case, there's 6 dwelling units, so there's 6 required parking spaces. The zoning bylaw also does clarify that required parking spaces, meaning if there's 1 parking space provided for a unit that has 1 required space, it in itself is 8 required space. Those required spaces cannot be located within the front yard setback. So we can see the front yard setback denoted just with this yellow line along the frontage of Adelaide Street. So there are 3 required parking spaces provided outside of this space within the driveway. So specifically a standard parking space is 2.75 meters in width. So this 8.25 meters in width is adequate enough to accommodate 3 parking spaces parked side by side.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I mean, it wasn't long ago where we were looking at a multi-use development where they were proposing parking on the public street, if the committee remembers that. Are there any other questions or comments? No? Okay, so we'll move to the staff recommendation and conditions that the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application affecting the subject lands, which are legally described as part lot 1, block D, Henderson section of Plan 6262, part 1 of reference plan 27R12642, Almont Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills, municipally known as 127 and 129 Adelaide Street, to permit the development of a semi-detached dwelling with 4 additional residential units subject to the following conditions. 1, that the following requested minor variance to zoning bylaw 11-83 is approved. Subbullet 1, to permit a reduced setback of 12.0 meters to the center line of a county road, whereas section 6.27 subsection 1 subsection A requires a minimum setback of 30 meters for a permanent residential dwelling. Subbullet 2, to permit a reduced driveway setback of 6.0 meters to the intersection of 2 public roads, whereas section 9.3.9 subsection D requires a minimum driveway setback of 7.0 meters. Subbullet 3, to permit a minimum exterior side yard setback of 2.0 meters, whereas table 14.2A requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 6.0 meters in the R2 zone. Condition number 2, that this decision shall not come into full force and effect until the final consent approval of B25-091 has been granted by Lanark County. Condition number 3, that the owners obtain all required building permits and approvals within 2 years of the decision coming into full force and effect. And condition number 4, that the owners conduct an on-site meeting with the Ottawa River Power Corporation prior to construction to ensure that separation distances between site design elements and the electrical infrastructure are provided prior to the issuance of a building permit, and confirmation is provided to the satisfaction of the Director of Development Services and Engineering. All in favor? Okay, if we can have a mover. Okay, I've got Sam as the mover, seconder. Deputy Mayor Mullally. Joe, did you want to say something before we did that? I saw a hand go up.
Oh, no, maybe a quick note, Chair, just because I didn't make it explicit, but you did read it as a part of the recommended motion, that given that the lot has not been formally created at this time, we are recommending that the decision not come into full force and effect until such a time that it is, just to ensure that the granted relaxations don't affect the parent parcel for whatever reason should the applicant not complete the consent. As well, it gives them more time to get the building permit within that 2-year time frame if the decision doesn't come into effect until the lot itself is not created.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I'm glad we didn't screw it up. Okay, if we can get to the next application, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad to say this is the last one tonight. And if someone can give me a thumbs up that they can see my screen and can hear me clearly, thank you so much. So that last application is D13-ASH-26, and the subject property is 248 Borden Road. The applicant is seeking relief from the zoning bylaw to permit the development of a new rear yard deck on the subject property, specifically whereas section 6.24 sub 2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback from the high water mark of 30 meters. The applicant is proposing 23 meters for the proposed deck. Here we can see the subject property outlined in blue on the screen. It is approximately 1,900 square meters in size with 30 meters of frontage along Borden Road. To note, Borden Road is a private road, so it's not municipally maintained. The subject property is split designated rural and floodplain, and similarly zoned limited service residential as well as environmental hazard. It does feature an existing detached dwelling and a detached accessory garage. It is generally surrounded by similar lower density rural residential uses. So as I described earlier, the applicant is proposing to construct a new 68 square meter deck in the rear yard of the subject property. The deck itself is proposed to have a setback of 23.38 meters from the high water mark, as measured as the shortest distance to the high water mark and the furthest projection of the deck towards the water. It's worth noting that the deck itself is to be approximately 15 meters from the floodplain itself. Here on the right, we can see the aerial of the subject property just denoting where the floodplain is. So again, just that bright blue line with the dark purple area to the right being the floodplain. The light purple is the MVCA regulated area, as where any development within that regulated area requires an MVCA permit. In the case of floodplains, the extent of that regulated area is approximately 15 meters. From the floodplain. In this case, the MVCA did confirm that proposed deck is approximately 15 meters from the floodplain, and they wouldn't be requiring an MVCA permit as a part of this development. Notwithstanding, they did provide certain mitigation measures to minimize the potential for erosion impacts as a result of this deck. These were provided in your package as attachment B to this report. Should committee support the application, we are recommending that adherence to these mitigation measures be followed should committee support it. The difference here between one of the previous applications earlier is there will not be an MVCA permit required for this, so the implementation of these mitigation measures won't be doubling up on things that the MVCA would be implementing anyways through their MVCA permit. As with all minor variances, there are 4 tests that were required to assess the application on. Staff have done so and are of the opinion that this proposed development meets all 4. In accordance with that, we are recommending approval in line with what is shown on the screen. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very, very much. Are there any questions from the committee? No, fairly straightforward.
Just a
Go ahead, Connie.
curiosity, did the Conservation Authority go out to the property?
Through the chair, I'm not sure if they did or not. We just received the comments that were attached to the application confirming that a permit would not be required. I'm not familiar if there are instances of site investigations when they're making the determination if a permit is or is not required, or if it's a desktop exercise where they're simply looking at their mapping and where the proposed development is to be.
Desktop.
Any other questions? Okay, is there anybody representing the applicant here who might want to add anything? No? Okay, we'll move to the recommendation then. Thank you. That the Municipality of Mississippi Mills Committee of Adjustment approve the minor variance application affecting the subject lands which are legally described as Concession 9, part of Lot 2, Ramsey Ward, Municipality of Mississippi Mills, municipally known as 248 Borden Road, to permit the development of a rear yard deck subject to the following conditions. 1, that the following requested minor variance to zoning bylaw 11-83 is approved, sub-bullet 1, to permit a rear yard deck that has a setback of 23.0 meters to the high water mark, whereas section 6.24 subsection 2 requires that all development have a minimum setback of 30.0 meters from the high water mark or 15 meters from the flood line, whichever is greater. Condition number 2, that the owners obtain all required building permits and approvals within 2 years of the decision coming into full force and effect. And condition number 3, that the owners follow the mitigation measures recommended by the MVCA to minimize the potential for erosion impacts as described in attachment B. All in favor? Okay, so moved. Oh, no, not moved. We vote in favor. Can we have a mover and a seconder, please? Connie's moving, and okay, Sam's seconding. I can't see Stacy, so I'm just going by that. And so we can move forward then. Thank you, everybody. The next item on the agenda is other business. Is there any other business? Go ahead, Stacy.
I just wanted to say that when I was trying to open the attachments, like I was looking at the agenda online, and when I try and open the attachments, it won't let me. Like if I click on, it wants me to sign in, but it's like a SharePoint thing, I think. Just for awareness.
Go ahead, Drew.
Through the chair and for committee's awareness, as a municipality, we've now moved to a new operating system for our agendas. So I assume what you're experiencing is a consequence of us doing that. I will forward that off to our clerk's department just to see if there is any technical assistance they could provide in the future, just to make sure that's not an issue. The other thing I could offer to in the short term is providing committee with hard copies if it would be easier for the agenda.
So I'm still able to scroll down. So like, for example, where it says page 95, I could go to page 95, but there's also a link there, and it's only when I click on the link. So, I mean, I could go down to page 95, but I just was trying to do the HTML thing.
Okay, perfect. I will still raise it.
It's not a huge deal, but it might be just something to be aware of because I could see where it might confuse the public.
It worked for me.
It worked for me at first, and then it quit
Okay.
working.
Okay. So there's something that clearly needs to be, there's a bug that we need to work on. Now I went to 95 and I don't want to go to 95. I'm trying to get back to the beginning of the agendas. Sorry, everybody. So yeah, we're still on there. It says other new business. Has there been any, is there anything else that, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I did want to raise a potential idea that staff had floated with regards to cutoff dates with regards to applications. Over the last 2 meetings, we've received 5 applications for both, and we found it a little challenging to give each one the adequate due diligence if it's not a file that we were expecting to receive in a short amount of time, working with the commenting agencies, sending those comments back to the applicant to be able to make revisions. We see applications having to be deferred to give adequate time. So we were contemplating moving the application deadline to coincide with the previous meeting. So as a firm example, the meeting for June is tonight. The application cutoff for our next meeting would also be tonight. That way gives us more time to work on the applications, but also allows us to convey to the committee whether there will or not be a meeting next month to allow you to schedule accordingly. I just wanted to float that to committee to see if there was a general sense of whether that would work, if there's support for that, any adjustments we could make. Anything would be welcome.
I would support that wholeheartedly. And I think it is helpful for us to know at the meeting if there's going to be a meeting in the next month, among other things. Actually, this is a good segue because I was going to take the time just before we adjourned to recognize the couple of bigger agendas than we've had recently back to back, and recognizing the work that is involved to prepare the reports for these agendas, and I want to commend staff for that. I also want to commend about the clarity and the fullness of these reports has been exceptional, and I really appreciate it. And I really do know how much work this takes, and I have been considering, like, how are you doing it in the time required because of all the consultations that are clearly required. These were not, none of these, like there may have been 5 applications for each of the last couple of weeks, none of them were straightforward. Like, half a meter from a side yard setback for a shed kind of thing. They all required research and discussion and consultation and pre-consultation. And I recognize that, and I really appreciate the work that you people put into it. And I want to thank you for it. So a question about other business. It's just something that is just popped into my head, and I want to ask, does the town have a student planner? And if so, are they at today's meeting, and can we meet them?
Yeah, through the chair, Nadia Oman is our student intern for the summer. She was with us last summer, and I believe was able to give a presentation just at the end of her term last summer. But she did provide the presentation tonight regarding the Mississippi Golf Course. I think her camera is still not working, so we might have to save the face reveal until next meeting. But Nadia, if you maybe want to just give a few words in terms of your background.
So yeah, I'm the summer student planner. I'm going to school for GIS and urban planning. I should be done this coming year. Yeah,
Where are you going to school, Nadia?
at Fanshawe, but it's
Oh.
online.
Well done, well done. And if you have, what kind of other student experiences have you had?
I did go to Trent University as well. I do have a bachelor's degree in environmental geoscience as well.
Yeah, this is a common pathway to get an undergrad in something and then go to college for the hands-on implications of what you learned theoretically at university. Well done, and welcome back. And I hope they treat you well. We're very happy to have you, and I hope you have really good experiences. And I expect you're not going to be just standing there photocopying for everybody. That it looks like, even by this report, that you're doing real meat and potatoes work. So good on you. So welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any announcements? Like, we've got the next meeting scheduled for August 19th. You haven't implemented your change in approach yet, so you don't know for sure yet whether, fair enough. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to move for adjournment. If I can have a mover and seconder. There you got Stacy and Sam. So meeting adjourned at 5:36 p.m. Again, thank you very much, everyone. This was a long haul, but it was very productive. And again, thank you for the quality of the work. I really appreciate it. You take care. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much.